let's check this out. Kari Lake reacts to uncool liberal outrage over Elon Musk. So apparently what we were upset with is not the fact that under the guise of efficiency, this asshat is was how hard it was to get a filter into their camera. Her sales point is that we're all upset because he looks so cool and we can't deal, or that we don't like that he's trying for government efficiency. None of us give a shit if he cuts waste, fraud, and abuse. Nobody has a problem with that. Never have. Nobody does. If it's waste and it's fraud and it's abuse, everybody's for getting rid of it. Now, when you consider something that's worthwhile waste, like school lunches and shit like that, then that's where it becomes political. But if you're legitimately talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, nobody has a fucking problem with that. Nobody. What we have a problem with is that somebody under the guise of getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse suddenly has access to the entire payment structure of the Treasury and everybody's social security numbers and everybody's fucking bank account records from the inside. That's what we care about. I don't give a fuck. If they're able to cut some stuff that meaningfully shifts the budget, every administration does something along those lines. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares. And here's the thing. That's supposed to be Congress's job. The fact that there has to be Republicans, do you have any idea how fucking stupid you sound when you're like, we're going to have a Doge committee? That's what oversight is. They're all supposed to be that. You're supposed to refine the programs, go over the costs and benefit analysis of them on a regular basis as you do the budget. It's your fucking job every fucking time. So the idea that you're going to just magically have one all of a sudden, when you were supposed to be doing it all along. You don't sound smart for saying we're going to have a Doge committee. You don't. How are they really going to kill Social Security? No. They're going to try. They're going to undercut it, but no. And by the way, as soon as they go near it, it is a political third rail, and you can only hope that some of them will be stupid enough to really try. We should be so lucky that they actually try. So, she thinks we're jealous of how rich Elon Musk is, as if any of us would trade our physical person for his in any circumstance. And that we don't like that he's going after the waste, fraud, abuse because it exposes the deep state spending your tax dollars, whatever. This is all political blather. This is just politics. This is political speak. I don't want to hear any outsider, well, we're not Washington. It's the same shit people say when they go to Washington every fucking time. I'm going to clean up Washington. There have been guys in the fucking 30s who are walking around carrying a fucking broom during their campaign, right? How many times have we heard about all the pork in Washington? We're going to cut all the pork out of the budget and all this stuff. Same shit. This is the same fucking conversation. There's nothing new about this at all. The only thing new in any of this shit, thank you, Jen. The only thing new in any of this shit is that these people are too stupid to understand that he's bringing hackers into these sensitive areas. That's it. And it's the only problem I really have with this, beyond the generalized political differences that I have with these fuckwads. Because a lot of what they're cutting, they're not cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. They're just cutting shit they disagree with, which every administration is allowed to do and often does. Nobody cares. I don't fucking care. Nobody cares. And the sooner people say that, the better. Every Democrat talking about this, hear me now and listen to me later. And I know you watch. I know you guys watch. In the Capitol, I know there are staffers that watch. I know there are people all throughout government that watch my show. Hi, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. I thank you for passing this. Let me tell you something, Democrats in the House. The only message that matters right now is we're here to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what oversight committees are for. We're always here doing our job. It's just not sexy. It's just the work of being in government. Our concern is you've given a bunch of hackers access to sensitive private data of Americans, and none of them will sit for an interview, and none of them will sit under oath, and we're just supposed to, he set up, Doge is the office of trust me, bro. No, I don't trust them. The American people shouldn't trust them. If they don't trust me and I take an oath to protect the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, when I take my oath of office, and if they don't trust me, why the hell would they trust somebody in God knows where, walking into the fucking treasury with a laptop? What are they walking out with? And it's not reassuring that they work for free or that they're just doing it because they love America. Bullshit. Bank robbers don't get a salary. All bank robberies work for a piece of the take. But up to that point, they're not fucking communists. It's not a group sharing effort. They're not sitting around a fucking talking drum discussing what it means to be a man, you fucking moron. Bank robbers always work on spec. These guys are working on spec. It is not about what you're going to pay them. It's the value of what they are walking out with. That's the only conversation Democrats need to have about the Doge guys. Primary point. Cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, that's what we do here in the Congress. That's what we're supposed to do. We're doing it right now. We do it every time. It just doesn't make the news because who watches C-SPAN? Nobody's worried about that. Nobody is worried about waste, fraud, and abuse being cut. What we're worried about is unelected, unnamed, invisible hackers walking in and out of our sensitive areas with laptops and thumb drives and fucking, hard drives in their jacket pocket. Hackers work on spec. That's it. And if we don't have a standard to make sure that they're not stealing private information, here's the thing. Even Elon Musk doesn't know. He may have a don't ask, don't tell policy. Elon Musk may very well have a kind of like, hey, whatever you guys get, don't tell me what it is. I don't need to know. I need plausible deniability. He has a plausible deniability scheme. Because his contracts with the federal government and his protection of those things are worth enough money, he doesn't necessarily need to milk anymore. And believe me, he'll have access to that shit later, after the smoke clears. But let's say one of those guys just decides to go fucking full Snowden. Just grab all the details they can and give it to China and Russia, like the original Snowden did. It's funny that he doesn't go to a fucking whistleblower in England at The Guardian or something like that. It's funny that he doesn't, turn himself in and go, it's important for the people to know this. Put me in jail. I stand by what I do. No, he fucks off to China, and then Glenn Greenwald and those dickheads get him a one-way ticket to fucking Russia. It's always Russia. Isn't it funny? It's always fucking Russia, isn't it? So anyways, what's this dipshit saying about how apparently because I pointed out that Elon Musk is a gacked out twerp who's way in over his head and has a sociopathic view of the impact on actual human lives in his ridiculous little hobby of playing president. That somehow he's cooler than I am. Yeah. All right. Let's see how this. Here you go. You know what? Let me set myself up so she can. There you go. How about this? Cool enough for you? Is that cool enough for you, Kari Lake? Kari Lake is up your butt. She's in your camera filter blur.
Was when he said this whole resistance and the left, that just everything seems so crazy. He said it's fake.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now. It's propped up by the government and the NGOs funneling money to these fake protests, these rent-a-mobs.
No. Also, by the way, the Russians were doing a ton of that stuff, but we have no one looking into that anymore because they cut that. It's interesting. And you'd assume that because money went to Politico, as if Politico was the jumping off point for Black Lives Matter protests.
And he knows more than us because he's even seen more than us. And
why would that be? Why would he? Trump wants you to be in charge of Voice of America. Why has he seen more than you? Here's the thing. He's seen more than Trump. That doesn't strike you as weird?
I think we need to remember that. This is not a country that's torn apart 50-50. The vast majority.
I didn't realize it was Rob Shit interviewing her. So he gets, like, good Lord, he gets to interview every dipshit at this thing.
Are for turning things around.
Okay, so Rob Shit is clearly, they're grooming him to move to Fox. That's what's happening. It won't be long. Rob Shit's going to get poached to Fox. He's going to replace Hegseth first. Yeah. Oh, but the audio is low on that? Okay, let me kick it up a little bit.
Common sense, cutting down the waste in government, and restoring our liberties and freedom.
Yeah.
No. Okay. There's no restoring liberty and freedom when you're accessing everyone's private data. I mean, explain to me the difference between the Doge assholes and Elon Musk getting to look at our private information and Chinese surveillance. Oh, wait. It's a fucking difference. Elements of the Chinese Communist Party, knowing what everybody spends their money on, where they go, facial recognition software, all that kind of shit, right? What's the difference between that and the Doge guys getting to look at all of our private information? From a liberty standpoint, from a freedom standpoint, where are our rights protected in that? I mean, beyond the violation of our Fourth Amendment rights, because you are seizing our private data without a warrant in that situation. If you walk out with it, it's identity theft. Trump can't go to jail for it because he as the president can order it. But if you carry out an illegal order or you do something that's illegal, as a contractor, for example, you can go to jail for that shit. You think Trump's going to come to your rescue? Maybe he'll pardon Elon, but any of the Doge guys, you don't think he would just throw a couple of those dickheads to the wolves?
It's just like we always talked about this, especially during COVID when we had George Floyd. We had you wonder, like,
when Trump was president, you mean?
How did these protests just occur? And
Gee, it's almost like a bunch of people gave a shit all at once. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe nobody had really seen a guy suffocate over the course of 9 minutes before. You know what I mean? And again, not fighting back, totally never even armed before. They didn't disarm him, none of that shit. On the ground, sitting on him as his life left his body. Maybe that's why. They just kind of, where do these fucking people get this idea? Who knows? I mean, that may be fucking in the shit household. That might be his idea of, Friday night entertainment.
You could just tell that there was money being just pumped into it to create this outrage.
Yeah.
Well, part of it was Russian money. Yeah. Absolutely. Ginned up everywhere they could. Both sides of the issue. So, by the way, Trump could use what seemingly was left-wing violence as a way to ride back into office. I'm going to clean this stuff up. The Democrats will let this stuff go on. I'll stop it. It's the same thing with the fucking people coming to the border. Right-wingers, Russians, paying for people to fly to Argentina and Venezuela and then make their way to the United States. And Donald Trump gives a pause to anybody from Venezuela who entered the country during the last year of his presidency, so they can't be deported for a year and a half, even though he knows Russia's been feeding them through everywhere else. When he says they're dumping everybody from their prisons and their jails and all that kind of stuff, that was the fucking plan. He was in on the game.
Create this destabilization of this country that we saw in 2020, because they wanted it to feel like.
Yeah, it was who was paying all this money to get all these assholes to show up at the ellipse and attack the Capitol? They wanted our democracy to fall. They wanted somebody take a shit in the rotunda and wave around a Confederate flag and steal a laptop from Nancy Pelosi's office and try to sell it to the fucking Russians. Clearly, all that big left-wing money was behind it.
This country was just tearing itself apart over this. It really wasn't.
And
it was
it
just a
didn't
lot
make
of money making it. It didn't make any sense at all.
We started with, right after President Trump's inauguration, the pink hats. Remember all of that? And they...
Right, and they turned out to be right. The pink hats. The women who were... The Women's March around this pussy-grabbing, adjudicated rapist becoming president, and their concerns about a dude who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a quarter century becoming president would be a negative, a net negative for women's rights. And what do you fucking know? He stacks the court with people who get rid of Roe v. Wade. What do you... They were right, dipshit. They were right. The pussy hat women were exactly right.
had a ton of money going toward it. They were tipping cars, setting businesses on fire.
Yeah, no. The pussy hat women were not setting businesses on fire and tipping cars. Not a one. Nobody in a knit cap, in a knit vagina cap, was turning over cars, you fucking weirdo. No. Not at all. I would have gone to that rally, because when women get that rowdy, they have needs. Sorry.
Cop cars on fire. Then it moved into the BLM and the Antifa. And, you know, they changed the name, but they had so much money behind it. And we were wondering, where are they getting this money?
What money? How expensive what do you think this shit costs? What money? Look, there were definitely schemes to organize people online and gin up, discontent and all that kind of stuff. But the people who fucking showed up, it doesn't cost that much to walk out of your fucking front door and march down the street and take whatever liquor or kerosene you have in the house and make a Molotov cocktail. That's the problem with it. It doesn't cost anything. Stupid. That's why Trump's argument about October 7th doesn't mean anything. Iran didn't have any money for October 7th. You don't need any money for October 7th, you dumb motherfucker. These people were pulling up water pipes that our tax dollars paid for and turning them into rockets. Dumb bombs. And the only reason they didn't kill lots of civilians every time they fired them was because of the Iron Dome. If it hadn't been there, the death toll in Israel, even during the Trump presidency, would have been in the tens of thousands.
And now in the past couple of weeks, we found out where they're getting it. USAID. Yeah. And wait until we get to the Department of Defense. Wait until we get to these other...
No. Look, okay, first of all, USAID was not paying for riots. Shut the fuck up. That's not what you found. It's not what you're gonna find. You're out of your goddamn mind. When they're funding DEI training, that is not code word for let's get the black people all upset about the dead black guy and make them burn down Minnesota. You fucking putz. Good Lord. That's not what you found out. Don't pretend you found out. And look, he actually agrees with her. I mean, here's in his defense, he agrees that every Republican that comes on and everything they say, he's just astounded that everybody doesn't know what he's just heard for the first time. Ugh. You're not going to get to the fucking Department of Defense and find out that Milley was funding BLM riots to keep Joe Biden in power or some nonsense. What the fuck? Hashtag Rip Portland.
The departments. Yeah. I think we've just scratched the surface. Yeah.
You think? You've just scratched the surface. Now, what does that statement mean? What that statement means is we have a $27 trillion economy, $36 trillion in debt, and we have a $7 trillion federal budget with a $2 trillion deficit post-COVID for a lot of reasons. And in all those ginormous numbers, almost $6 trillion that the U.S. government pays out every year, that it actually doles out, they've discovered about $80 billion in stuff they don't like and they politically disagree with. That's not waste, fraud, and abuse. That's just a political difference. That's just partisan bullshit, and that's why it's just scratching the surface. It's a fucking hangnail. Don't give me this shit that you're going to fix the federal budget, which is a crisis, and it's criminal that we allow this to go on. And when the government should be turning a profit, we should run it like a business. Summer and I were talking earlier, and she was like, she gets so upset, as do I, at the idea that like it's when they're we should run it like a business, not a business. It's a service. You're paying for that service, and the management of that service is what saving money is about, not about stopping the service. And it is the legal responsibility of the government to provide that service first over the fiscal safety of the country. If you got to fight a war and you got to do fucking war bonds to do it, and you've got to you have to have a draft, you know what I mean? Like that supersedes whether or not the company's going to be in the black that year, you fucking tool.
I think so too.
You don't think at all, Rob. Rob, if you thought at all, you wouldn't only hang out in places where people agree with you. Honestly, do these assholes go outside except for CPAC and to like, I don't know, fucking duck hunting trips in Cheney Land?
I want to play this Elon Musk on being vilified, you know, as somebody that's been so popular for such a long time in this.
No. He has an inflated sense of self-worth based on an illusion, based on a character. He is the Donald Trump of technology. His name's on the book, but he didn't write it. His name's on the company, but he didn't invent the product the company does. And he had enough money from his parents to have a fuck you cushion to allow himself to give the illusion of being competent for a long time. She does remind you of a chicken scratching Vincent.
Country, nonpartisan for most of his life, even leaning left. Now he's.
You don't end up with 13 kids and a fixation on procreating after you come from South Africa. If you lean left. What he did was he took advantage of the power structure at the time, which was the Obama administration was ascendant, and he benefited from the federal funds that were going to support electric cars at the time. So he bullshitted in the right circles. Here's the problem you have, Rob Shit. Here's the problem you have, Scary Lake. Both of you have a really big issue. Is he bullshitting you now? You don't know. Is he just telling you what you want to hear so he can get in the door and get access to all the stuff that the federal government has because it's worked? And you guys are letting it happen. I don't think I'm telling you, there's not a single Democrat that I know of that if there was a story where George Soros was asked by, or fucking Mark Cuban for that reason, let's just pick somebody who's likable. If Biden said, I'm going to ask Mark Cuban to bring in a bunch of guys. He's going to hire a bunch of programmers. You don't need to know their names, but they're young guys. He's going to bring them into all of our governmental agencies and review them and report back to me secretly. And they'll announce stuff that, if there's stuff in there for, promoting shooting in Wisconsin, if they have gun clubs that get federal funding because they get ammo at half price for practicing because it leads to people joining the military. There's a lot of those all over the country. We're gonna cut that. That's waste. That's fraud. That's abuse. I don't know a single fucking Democrat that would go, that's brilliant. Finally, we're getting somebody from the outside to take a look at things, a good businessman, somebody we trust, and he's going to bring in some unknown fucking people and let them roam around. Maybe Chink, but yeah. Well, no. Chink would bitch about it and then cozy up to whoever that person was.
MAGA and how hard it's been being vilified by the media this way. Take a listen.
What's it like from going neutral to being vilified? Largely vilified by the media. Like you're...
What?
No.
Sarcasm. It's what idiots have instead of a sense of humor.
Really? I mean, you turn on some of these channels, brother. I mean, they don't...
By the way, listen to his voice and his cough. he's smoking a lot. He talked a lot about how he would like play video games and smoke weed while his company did stuff, and then he really only showed up for meetings to play, billionaire genius, to pretend. But the rest of his day he spent just hanging around his house, smoking weed and playing video games as a rich dickhead. And these companies are just investments. He doesn't actually have an active role in what they can accomplish. He just wrangles up federal funding to support it and drives this whole government can't do anything right. We need private industry to do things. That whole push. That's why he's a Republican now. Because in the beginning, it was the Obama bailout that made Tesla exist, and it's the outsourcing. Yes, it's weed. It's not vaping. It's weed. And he might, I don't know if he smokes anything else, but listen to his throat. Like you could tell
They're angry. Does it bother you at all? Does it get to you? Yeah.
When they're chanting for my death, I suppose that's a little,
Not good.
But then the song's not even that good, and it's like you call that a death chant? That's nothing. Please.
Hilarious. I don't know what he's referring to. Does anybody know? Is there a specific thing other than people just going, fuck that guy? Because it sounds made up. Yeah. Yeah, it's also why he's wearing glasses. Yeah, he's high as a fucking kite. Yeah, sunglasses indoors. Republicans used to mock people like that.
And the leftists are now selling their Teslas in protest. Sheryl Crow selling her Tesla last week. It's like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
And how about...
No, there's a lot of actually great electric cars out there and with a better safety record than Teslas now, And also the Tesla cars, like the one she has, it was in large part made in China, Kari. That's the rough part. The vast, the majority of the construction, the parts themselves made in China, the electronics, the battery, everything made in China, then shipped over and basically just slapped together in California to avoid tariffs and basically to live up to the standard that the bailout money set for him, that it has to be made in the United States and all that kind of stuff. Oh, he's totally tweaking, Marshall.
All these songs. I mean, have you heard the singing? The worst songs I've ever heard. They get together and they sing the stupidest song you've ever heard. And to
no, we haven't. Sing it. Hum a few bars.
Protest. To protest what? We're trying to find waste in the government? Is there?
Yeah, that's not what they're worried about, asshole. This is exactly what I was talking about. The answer to this is, what, you don't like us trying to find waste? No, I don't believe you're trying to find waste. That's what the Congress is supposed to be doing. They have apparently abdicated their ability to a bunch of unelected asshole hackers who you are allowing to carry laptops and thumb drives and all kinds of at hard drives into the Treasury and into places, into sensitive areas. They haven't sworn an oath. They couldn't pass an FBI background check, even if you were going to bother to fucking give them one. I don't want to hear shit about waste, fraud, and abuse. No one has a problem with looking for waste, fraud, and abuse.